Hey guys, in this video, I'm talking about how I write my scripts for the story animations I create because oh boy, I do love sharing my tales, and as I always say, stories are merely the memories we forget, so before I forget, I'm making this video for you guys. Before I create any of my story animations, I'd start off with script writing. Just to be clear, you want to keep your story as interesting as possible, so having a clear idea of what you want to talk about is really important. I mean, if I see my cat licking itself, I'm not gonna make that into a story. Pfft, why would I? Stories are meant to be interesting and unique. You can use a diary, a notebook, or anything that you can write on to gather your ideas. For me, I prefer to use Google Docs and Apple Notes because they're accessible wherever I go. That reminds me, someday I'm gonna have to make a video on how I get my ideas for these videos. Anyway, scripts usually have a few parts to it. Think of it like a human body. You have the head, which is essentially the hook or the intro of the video. Then you have the meat or body of the video. And lastly, the legs or the call to action and sequence of the video. In this example here, the topic that I choose to talk about was my experience in taking the Mensa IQ test. In my head, I can remember the whole encounter pretty clearly. But when translating it to a script, you've got to focus on several key aspects like what makes the story interesting, funny dialogues that happen in the story, what can viewers gain by watching my story. Animators that write their own script have different ways of approaching their scripts. Some like to create small notes and sketches while preparing the story, others like to tackle the story by writing it first and then proceed to the drawing phase. I prefer writing the story first from the comfort of my workspace and doing it on Google Docs as mentioned earlier. While writing your script, you might want to get into the mood or get comfortable with it. Brew some tea, listen to some music, or anything that sparks your creativity. A tip for you guys is to create bullet points for your story. Those little key moments which can be expanded further as you go along. Bullet points are the basic outline for your story or your narration. It's a good practice to have when starting your writing. Usually, for the first draft, I write everything that comes to mind. The goods, the bads, the loots, and the fads. Pretty much everything that happened, but with more exaggerated moments and sometimes a little nonsense. I mean, we're not writing a report here guys, this ain't high school. It's important to remember the first draft doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to put everything down on paper. After reading my first draft a couple of times, I'm usually proud to say, it's so cringy, oh my god! Sometimes, I write a script at night and the second morning I die of cringe while rereading it. And that's okay, that's what makes us better, my humble kings. From then on, I shift some of the content around, cutting off those unnecessary parts or stuff I find ridiculous. So the hook of the video is usually 15 to 30 seconds long depending on what I have to offer as the introduction to the story. You want to get to the point and not take up too much time of the viewer, but you can't just jump into the story without any context. It's like, oh hey, once upon a time, there was the end. Okay, not the best example, but just keep it to the point guys. After the introduction to the plot is done, I then spend a bit more time refining the actual story, the meaty and juicy part. This part of the process can take me anywhere from a couple of hours to a day or two. It really depends on stuff like, did I get enough sleep? Do I have any worries? Is the sun coming up from the west? Nah, I'm just kidding. As long as I'm happy with the content, I finish it by ending the story with some call to action. Like I mentioned earlier, for my story animations, I usually try to leave something for the viewers to learn. It could be something inspiring or a downright silly life experience. All in all, the most important part in writing a script for your story is to enjoy it. More often than not, if you're in a shitty mood, your story may end up sounding like garbage too. The end result shows, and I'm gonna tell you this, your viewers can tell too. They can sense if the writer is having fun creating and writing the story, or simply don't give a dang about it. Bonus point, if you enjoy creating skits or dialogues, there's a format I like to use. I usually write it out in the form of people talking to each other, like person A saying something and person B answers with something else. At times, I add the expressions I'm expecting the characters to portray, because this helps me out when I'm voice acting those lines or if someone else is doing the VO. Those expressive emotes help the talent portray the voice acting better. And that's the basic outline of how I script my story animations. If you ask me to compare the story writing and drawing process, I'd say they're equally tough on some days and super easy on good days. Getting the script right will save you a lot of time from editing it later in the project. Trust me, you won't want to re-record the audio or redraw those scenes too often. I've said this before that time is our most valuable commodity and every second you save will help you become a more efficient animator. I hope this video has helped you or answered some questions in your scriptwriting journey. If you found this interesting, do check out my other videos on how I animate and I'll see you in the next one.